Welcome everyone to this episode. I'm very pleased and excited to have with me Rod St Hill. Rod is he's a full-time pastor these days of a great church on the Gold Coast of Australia, IgniteLife Church. But his career has been actually very different to that. Rod has been in the world of economics, teaching in universities for the better part of 40 years, teaching economics, leadership and governance. He's also on 2 school boards and chair of a charity on the Gold Coast. I don't know where he finds the time to do all these great things, but it's a pleasure to have him on with us today. So Rod, welcome to the show.
And it's a great pleasure to join with you, Alex. Nothing better.
Excellent. Look, I love talking about biblical economics and, what that may look like. But I thought I'd start, I guess, with a bigger picture around nations. We live in a world which we know is fallen, and there's rich countries, there's poorer countries, and a lot of things in between. So I guess my sort of thing that I'm interested in is, why do you think some nations prosper and others don't? Are there any sort of really obvious things that stand out to you, based on your
yes,
background?
there are actually, and to keep it fairly simple, because the world is very complex. If you have a look at the histories of those countries that we now refer to as the high-income countries, they've all got Christian roots. So they've built economic, social, and political systems based on biblical principles. And even though today most would disavow any allegiance to biblical principles or even to Christianity, nevertheless, you can actually trace the roots of those countries back to Christianity.
And I think, and on that note, I think the fact that they are abandoning it is the reason why they're really in decline. I mean, one thing that concerns me immensely is the decline of the middle class, the people that really make an economy function, and they seem to be just slowly, each year it seems to just dwindle away a little bit, and perhaps increasingly so, like at a more rapid pace now, because of our abandonment of God and taking him out of our government and out of our marketplaces.
Oh, look, I think that's right. It's the people in the middle who end up paying, they have to pay a lot of tax. They also end up depending on government handouts and government services. It's a crazy system whereby for the average income earner, certainly in Australia, I don't know how it is in other countries, but basically with one hand, the government takes income away from us through the tax system. And then if we behave in certain ways, with the other hand, the government just gives it all back again. And in between, of course, we've got this great big lumbering public service that soaks up so many resources, really without any productive outcome.
Well, my concern with that, though, also is the fact that it just never seems to stop growing. Like, it gets bigger and bigger, and it seems to take up more a portion of employment and of the economy each and every year. And I always think to myself, surely that can't continue. At some point, it just falls over. Am I right in that kind of thinking? Because that's where I kind of feel
Look,
it's
I think
heading.
ultimately it will, but it may be that as people get poorer and poorer, they might rise up and we might see some different political outcomes. One of the great strengths of those high income countries that we were talking about just a few moments ago is that they are still, broadly speaking, democratic nations. And so there is always the possibility that there will be significant change politically. Not a lot of sign of that right now, especially given the outcome of the midterm elections in the United States, but that's always a possibility in democratic nations.
No, absolutely. And that gives us a source of hope and a very good thing to pray for.
We do need very courageous political leaders, though, who are not driven by polls and focus groups, but who are driven by a vision for the nation, and who as leaders are actually prepared to put their case and persuade people. We really don't
That's
have
the challenge.
Any politicians like that. Really, there's none of them in the world today.
That's true. I find there's very few statesmen around who really have a vision and are really keen to lay it out.
We're plagued by professional politicians, people who see politics as a career in which they are the beneficiaries, not as a service to people.
Mm.
That's been a major shift, I think, certainly since about the middle of the 20th century, and it's been to our detriment.